Hello, everybody. Welcome to the patch 1313 rundown for amateur play. My name is Quintic. Today, I will be using my system of predictive criteria to assess the probable impact on this patch onto like sub-masters competitive play. We are going to be. What am I trying to say here now? This always happens. Sometimes I get my intro right, sometimes I don't. You know what? I'm feeling a lot higher confidence in my assessments again. There were a few patches there, like 1311, 1312, where I was like really feeling kind of iffy. But now I do think I am right back to ready to go. Mel, thank you. Oh my god, we are 0 kilobits per second. Oh my god, this bit rate. The stream is not working. No shot. I can't see a viable reason. Ooh, this is bad. This is bad. At least the recording is fine, but yeah. So sorry for that. Everybody, make sure you never mind, it's not fixed. Well, shoot. We can't really have a conversation if you guys can't hear me. That's kind of difficult, don't we think? That's pretty much, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just try to solve the problem and wait for everybody to come on in. I'm going to wait for this whole thing to resolve itself. It's now trying to broadcast at, like, above the usual bit rate. So, that's all. Go forth anyways, I suppose so. Hailfire, Dark, welcome to the stream. Declo, welcome to the stream. Hello, Mario. Yeah, we're like two people with sandwiches away, right? No, less. Any person can finish this off. That's pretty exciting. So yeah, though, as I said, first of all, Mel, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your continued support. And yeah, so just to kind of catch you guys up, I was feeling pretty low confidence about some of my predictions. I felt kind of disconnected from the state of the game, but I realized that the only issue was that I was not giving some of these patch notes the time they deserved, right? We were kind of rushing through some of the predictions, which was a little rough. And there we go with Sonic contributing that bit of extra. We are now at the Watch Quinn's documentary from 2013 challenge accomplished 100%. You guys will get to see this catastrophic video at some point. Not today. We will schedule it. You guys will know in advance. I haven't watched it in over 10 years. That's that. Celebratory waste sandwiches. Love to see it. Hellfire, no, I haven't seen that base stat calculation spreadsheet. I would love to see it. In the meantime, though, because I only have like an hour, 10 minutes, my practice time starts at 8:30. I do have to get a move on. Because if we do want to have high confidence in our predictions again, if we do want to make sure that I'm saying things that make sense, I have to start so everything gets the time it deserves. So we're going to start with Annie. Are we going to lose any meaningful value in Annie? Annie Q damage is going down by 10 at all ranks. That alone is an out of threshold burst damage change. Remember, we're looking for numbers around 40, which like meaningfully changes everything. It's also a 5% AP ratio change, which is an overall, like now that we know how to assess ratios, that's an overall scaling nerf. It's not going to have a very significant impact on her one item at all, nor her two item. But of course, like once you're getting into, you know, like if we're at 100 AP, we're losing 5 damage. If we're at 1,000 AP, we're losing 50 damage, right? Takes a long time to lose that 50 damage, at which point we're probably looking more for thresholds of like 100, 150 damage. So ultimately, I'm not expecting any real change in pick conditions for Annie, and this is a simple one that we don't have to do very much about. Aphelios is getting a lot of distinct changes to his weapon properties, and this is the type of change that we don't get to use as many predictors on. We have to actually take the time, sit down, really reflect on what's going to happen. So Aphelios, despite his solo queue win rate, is outstanding. I think it's hard for us to argue that, right? He He is like one of the purest expressions of marksman DPS. Also has burst, also has some utility, right? Has higher damage than his peers throughout most of the game. It's just he has he can sometimes struggle to interact into enemy mobility, certain defenses, stuff like that. Just very pure hyper carry, protect him, he wins the game, right? What I'm seeing here is that there's no... Okay, actually, I was about to say no real damage changes, but this one could matter. So, let's go one at a time, right? Severum, lifesteal on attacks. From 2.5% at level 1 down to 2% at level 1. A 0.5 change early isn't going to make a dramatic difference because we already don't have very much to amp to begin with. But going from 9% to 7% at high levels should matter at least a little bit, right? To what degree? To a pick condition impacting degree? I can't be sure. It's probably like we can just look at that as kind of like... I'm trying to figure this out. I haven't ever really had to go super in-depth on natural lifesteal before, so I will shelve that and we'll come back to it in just a moment, right? This one I think is quite a lot more relevant, lifesteal on abilities, going from 30% down to 17.75%. This does impact a very specific interaction. This does impact the Infernum Severum combo, which is something that our usual gun rotation actually will give us, right? Because we have that one decision point between Gravitum and Infernum, where we can kind of choose which order they come in. But it's very, very common to keep Calibrum Gravitum together, which leads to Gravitum Infernum for a moment, and then Infernum Severum. Aphelios will absolutely survive, like, losing the interaction where, like, you Infernum Q and heal the full on a wave. I don't think he really needs the speed to function. He will survive that one. We'll keep looking there. I think overall Severum's, like, pretty okay, right? Gravitum, the slow duration on attacks, is going from 3.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. That matters for our root cooldown, right? Let's take a look at exactly... First, we're going to check how Aphelios interacts with this, and then we're just going to kind of compare it to Ashe to have a frame of reference. Remember that it's a decaying slow, so it's not that intense at the end of that 3.5. Decaying to 10% after 0.7 seconds, and we're going to just check to see if that is the same... okay, so it hasn't been adjusted here just yet, but I would imagine since it wasn't explicitly mentioned that this value hasn't changed. So, ultimately, the only thing that really affects is how long you can stall for your Binding Eclipse cooldown, which, again, does hurt. It limits Aphelios' catch potential. You can't just, like, catch people, like, limping away last second. I'm just trying to visualize the amount of times where that would, like, really... No, because I definitely use that. When I play Aphelios, I definitely exploit the duration of Q. The cooldown is, what, 12 to 10 seconds? I will have skirmishes in lane, at least, where that's pretty significant. But at the same time, it's not his main output. It just impacts the plays he can go for, right? How does that affect his R? R slow is much stronger. That's a good question. Let's take a peek. Increases the initial slow, and overall decay duration is unchanged. So technically it doesn't. Technically it doesn't impact the R slow. If you're not mistaken... Oh, yeah, there it is. Hailfire, just mentioning. The slow, Gravworks slow starts at 30%, decays to 1... Exactly. Yep. That is completely accurate. So this is supplementary output, which affects, like, a bit of your Q usage, and you'll survive without it, even though it is power impacting, right? You'll survive without this, even though it is power impacting. This is the one that I'm a little bit concerned about, because I just need to check to see how exactly the sentry scales. Right. So here we have the sentry. The attack speed is 0.64. Oh, but that's its base, and I would imagine if nothing explicit is mentioned here, Yeah, just fully benefits from Aphelios' attack speed. So technically it did attack exactly as fast as Aphelios. Now it attacks it attacked faster than Aphelios. Now it attacks as quickly as Aphelios. So the only way that could possibly impact your crescendum damage, your crescendum calibrum damage rather, is if for some reason like I guess you're just not spending that time like fully in the animation of consuming a calibrum mark. Okay. Whew. So again, power impacting. We can survive without both of these. Slightly power impacting. It reduces red white. He's he's marginally less tanky. Loses a somewhat niche play, or loses the effectiveness of a somewhat niche play. And then I would imagine that the best use case for Chakram is still fine. We're only losing we're never, because Crescendum is only ever linked to Severum and Calibrum. Early game we get some Infernum. Like Crescendum is the most important gun to never desync. We don't really want to spend our turret ammo on Severum turrets as much. It's a straight DPS loss since the turret attacks less. If I'm struggling to view that as relevant in specifically the Calibrum Crescendum case, which is the case we're using this most often. Because I can't think of a time in which I'm... Let me think. Or at the very least, it's encouraging him to go a little bit more into attack speed. There is a way we can offset it if... Okay. So what I will say then is... Yeah, I imagine this is simply a numbers change that makes him slightly less effective in several of his plays, but he maintains his overwhelming DPS, just gets hit a little bit by safety. I think Aphelios survives, and if you're already a Aphelios player, you will be totally fine to play him still. Now, if I am wrong, if he does get more impacted than I believe, it is because of this, right? It is because I'm overlooking something that you guys might like. I mean, just it has less attacks. You're not picturing in combos. Yeah, I'm just... My personal experience playing Aphelios kind of makes me I've never felt reliant on that, right? So I mean, his solo Q win rate will be pretty bad. I imagine it will be, right? But my experience playing Aphelios, kind of my gut feeling, I look at this and I say I'm still going to be completely comfortable to play Aphelios if I'm an Aphelios player already. So for the context of amateur play, where the only people playing Aphelios are like kind of the Aphelios diehards or the very bot-centric teams, you're not going to make any major pool changes off this patch. That's what I believe right now. That's what I believe. Yep. Okay. Moving on. you, this champion. All right. Yeah, Ivern's so broken. And I'm thrilled. I'm an Ivern player, but this is a deserved nerf. So let's see what he gets. He gets minus 10 damage on hit all ranks, which translates to minus 5 all ranks on ally attacks, I think. But there's also a minus 10% AP ratio on this, which is definitely going to impact the higher prevalence, like Rylai's builds, the solo queue Night Harvester kind of thing. And whenever we see an on-hit damage loss, that is a very meaningful effect. I think one of the more broken parts of Ivern was just late game, the amount of invisible power he was giving to his marksmen. So I'll survive. The base damage doesn't really matter to me too much. No, should I say that? Okay, I'm going to slow down because I've been given some feedback over the last weekend, right? A big issue that I have sometimes is I will speak to build myself up to a point where I'm not really saying anything meaningful. So here I am in one breath saying, this is big, this matters a lot. And here's me in another breath saying, I don't care at all. And it's like, I can't really reconcile those. They don't fit. So let me just slow down and like really come to an opinion here. All right. Also, Daisy, that shouldn't be in the game. They didn't add that, no? Wait, why is she proccing PTA, come to think of it? Was that undocumented? She's triggering on attack effects. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So no, she's not. I sincerely doubt she's applying on hits. Like, they did not include that in the notes. They did not ship that change. Right. I can't. Give me a second. Let's practice tool up. Let's see. I'm going to try log. Practice tool is disabled, but practice tool is up on PvE. Okay. Let's just give this a check. In the meantime, we're going to move on to here. Okay. Daisy, base movement speed down by 10. Very impactful. Very, very impactful. She's unavoidable right now. She's completely inescapable on 440. 440 is ridiculous. On 420, people could kind of like... People could definitely get away from her on tier 2 boots, right? Because what's average champion base movement speed? Like 365, something like 355, 350? Like, list of champions, movement, speed. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of 355s, 300s, 345s, 340s, like the slow champions are down here in the 330 range. So your particularly fast champions, I'm just going to pick Berserker's Greaves, right? Plus 45 movement speed. Daisy was still faster than them, right? Daisy was still faster than everybody, like even these guys, when she was on 420, but was more susceptible to, like, mobility slows, stuff like that. On 440, good luck anybody getting away from her. 330, she's still threatening, but is not going to be, like, giga disgusting. Oh my god. It's not up on PvE either because of high player count. I will check because I didn't get the triangle notification up here where I did on live. Ivern R attack, damage type, physical, info, properties, property template, attack note on hits, tags. Jesus Christ. Attack note on hits. There we go. Okay, so it is tagged to not deal on hit damage. As intended. Perfect. And then the base damage on Slam is going down by 20. So, Ivern's... But it is considered to be a basic attack, which is why it's applying PTA. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Thank you. Very clarifying bit of information there. So the last little bit that Daisy got on Ultimate, right? Because her base attack speed went up and her base attack range went up, which was also power impacting because she doesn't have to be as immediately on top of you. Slam base damage was just... Oh, what the fuck? Wait, even if the tags read as that, something's messed up. We now have that theory corroborated by the wiki, even though we can't check ourselves. Okay. Daisy Slam base damage is down by 20 at all ranks. The base damage was new, and she was fine without it. Daisy base movement speed is down by 10. The 440 was excessive. The 420 was, like, fine, but got outpaced in the late game. 430 is even better than before, and she still maintains her higher attack range. Great. She's still stronger than before. Ivern, bonus damage on hit is minus 10 at all ranks, which is majorly DPS impacting. Pretty much always. But I imagine that I am still very capable of skirmishing in the early game, right? This is a significant scaling nerf to, like, the Rylai's builds and stuff like that. Okay. So if Ivern was, like, honestly fine before, and he just became absolutely broken, he's still meaningfully stronger than where he was before his 1311 update. And so even though, like, it's meaningful that his own DPS is going down and that Daisy is less completely bonkers, then, like, you know, solo queue Ivern probably like 51, 52, something like that. Yeah. It does mean that the Rylai's Nashor's kind of build is more nerfed than the others. I'm still going to be trying it. I'm still going... Okay, so we've now had a long conversation, basically just to say, since Ivern is still stronger than on 1311, the Ivern players are still going to be reasonably happy with the state that he's in. I'm just curious about the impact onto maybe top lane Ivern or something. We'll kind of check in and see if it's still, like, really strong. I'd imagine he's no longer broken enough to just be a functional support, right? Because he was only a support by being giga broken to begin with. So, yeah. You swear it procs on hits? Well, the wiki is kind of arguing that it does. So even though the tags are fighting it, like, maybe we'll keep track of it because something's funky, very funky. And Tibbers does not use the same type of attack. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. We will conclude that, like, yeah, jungle Ivern, fine. Lane Ivern, we'll check, probably still fine. Do you need to permaban him? Maybe not, but he's still stronger than before. So, you know, if there happens to be a really good Ivern player, sure. Gives me a better opportunity to play my champion. So. The E-Change helps in bot? Sure, but he's like... Ivern is like Orianna tier in support, where just... I don't mind him. I don't think there's anything, like, wrong with him. It's just I don't think he has meaningful pick conditions beyond, like, the Rengar Ivern lane. Like, over other enchanters. Like, if every enchanter besides Ivern got nerfed tomorrow, I think he'd be a completely legitimate bot laner, right? That's the core issue. It's just relative to other champions, he's not very compelling. There's something funky. But are we satisfied with that? Ivern no longer... Like, because Ivern's in excessive. Ivern's up here in excessive. Whenever we have a champion in excessive and he gets nerfed and we can kind of think about that, the best thing we can conclude is, cool, his power level's back to reasonable. He's still very good. He's still probably like an A-tier champion, but that's a satisfying conclusion. We're good. I gotta move on. I'm giving things too much attention now. Kindred. 30 base health down and 3 base armor down. Let's do our durability checks. I'm going to kind of move this thing over here, which means I will not be able to see chat for just a brief moment while I'm plugging my numbers in. We've seen this calculator so many times at this point, you know what to expect. Okay. Kindred's base HP is... Oops, hang on. Yeah, 610. It was 610. Now it's 580. HP per level is unchanged. It's 104. Base resistance, we're talking about armor, it's going from 29 down to 26. And the armor per level is still 4.7. This means that Kindred at level 1 is losing 60 effective HP, roughly. At level 6, that is like 75 effective HP. At level 11, that's almost 100 effective HP. This is absolutely within thresholds of Kindred being easier to kill. For sure. Kindred is more susceptible to burst in skirmishes. This is power impacting for Kindred. Now, I think Kindred for a long time has just been an extremely dominant champion. I think Kindred is very good skirmisher. Consistently excellent solo queue pick, and consistently like 1v9 champion in a draft that is built around enabling them. So, I mean, a draft that's built around enabling them is still going to cover Kindred very well. Like, with Gragases and Cassantes and like Gallios and Brahms, maybe Karma mids, like something for her to stand in front of, Silas's, like drafts like that, right? I'm just trying to assess, but yeah, as a jungler, you are very rarely the one receiving the burst because you're approaching a skirmish. Like, no, it's possible. If you take a bad gank, like a mid 2v2, you can be the first one in. You can be the first one to take hits. Kindred's not an excessive. I don't know. Is Kindred's power excessive? Just excessive. I imagine that Kindred will still be very good in comps built to enable them, but if you're just like picking Kindred for the sake of having Kindred, especially since we're about to see some Trinity nerfs down there, they're probably going to be a little scarier to pick and meaningfully weaker in those spots, right? So, yeah, I mean, Kindred was probably an every game champion in current state and just kind of isn't anymore. That's how I feel about this change. The sheet lets me compare champions' effective HP, and it gives me the averages. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. They're like 54% win rate. There's so much 54% win rate in this game. Like, this is like honestly the least balanced the game has been in like a year and a half, 2 years, like something insane like that. So, yeah, and also we also have to consider, is Kindred losing additional durability from Trinity Force? We'll come back to it. If Kindred does lose additional durability from Trinity Force, that is majorly power impacting for the generic solo queue and amateur comp. Otherwise, again, still amazing if you draft around them. Still amazing in that case. Yeah, well, Kindred's one of like the 4, 5, 6 junglers where you pick them and you get to win solo queue games, right? Like Kindred and Viego and Hecarim and like, I guess Rek'Sai right now too. There's just certain beatdown champs that every jungle player uses to climb. Might be that Daisy proccing on hits is a legit bug, and when they fix it, he will be dog shit. If you think Ivern's going to be dog shit because Daisy doesn't have an on hit bug, I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. I'm sorry. That champion was great even before he got his buffs. Yeah, see, there you go. So it's surely as we said, it's a nerf that's just going to shave off some percentage points on the win rate. And if you pick her appropriately, you're still fine. And if you pick her with 0 protection, you're gonna be susceptible to being blown up. So watch out. Lee Sin. Lee Sin is in a fairly weak spot in solo queue and hasn't seen much play in pro either. True, he is. He's a funny little guy like that. So what are we doing? Sonic Wave damage plus 5% bonus AD. Resonating Strike minimum damage, it's up 5%. Resonating Strike maximum, up 10%. So Lee Sin's gaining about 15% bonus AD on his combo. Does anybody know where his thresholds are right now? Like is he just barely kind of failing to burst people satisfyingly? Like, because I know a big issue is, like, he's supposed to skirmish around early game. He's supposed to win these early skirmishes. He's still doing okay at that, and then he's struggling to convert anything. Like, where is he? I don't have a power statement. One of the reasons that I was really not confident in my assessments before was not just because I was rushing, but because whenever I had power statements, they were really, really, really outdated, right? You don't mind if Lee stays bad? He's a favorite. He can be like 49% win rate and like sometimes fine, right? So a 15% increase takes how much AD to hit our threshold? We're looking for 40 damage. Oh god, no. Hang on. Uh-oh. Yeah, guys, we're looking for like We're looking for like 270 bonus AD to hit an early game burst threshold. There's no change. There's no practical change here. Absolutely no practical change here. He lacks a stable... Yeah, you have to heavily outplay your opponent to progress your beatdown, right? No thanks. He's a well-designed champion, but needing like 270 more AD to find a reasonable burst, like lethal window change is not it. So Lee Sin is not going to be changed whatsoever. This is also a big one, okay? Neeko, the single most consistent beatdown champion in the entire game. The most consistent. Before the update, she was exactly the same thing that Hailfire described for Lee Sin. Same problem. Very, very potent early game bully potential with no conversion tactics. Nothing to actually progress the game after she got fed. And now she absolutely has that. Now she absolutely has stable engage. Really, 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 really good engage. Unreactable engage. There's a minion on screen, and you know it's her. You still have to flash it. Usually you don't. So, she didn't really have a real identity. Yeah, she had a very steep mid-game transition, right? This is a champion that I do actually understand very, 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 very well, right? She just suddenly abruptly became a defensive champion, and so she had kind of like a Zyra-ish niche. She was fine in support, but I mean, now she's just objectively amazing jungle, amazing mid, situationally great support, amazing counter pick top lane, which you can just B1 no matter what and put her anywhere. Like, she's too strong. She's too broken. She's so good. So what are they doing? First of all, Q cooldown is going from 9 to 7 seconds. This is consistency in laning, right? This is not going to change necessarily the amount of damage she can deal. It'll just change her ability to snowball with that damage in the lane phase, right? She's not going to get you out of lane as quickly. People were actually like taking Comet on this champion, like, and just harassing with Q. This, for the first time in I think her entire history, slows down her bully potential. Which, on its own, because of how consistent she's become, that would be completely okay. We wouldn't mind that, right? We wouldn't mind that. The Q nerf hurts on-hit W-Max builds. I disagree. Proper full on-hit W-Max like doesn't even like to take a point in the ability in the first place. It hurts the AP on... No, it doesn't hurt the AP on hit because you're still maxing Q first in that case. You're going QW in that case. So no, I don't think any of the off-meta builds are, like, dramatically impacted by this. It's, like, exclusively her early bully, right? It only hurts... Oh, it does hurt Neeko jungle a lot! That's a really good point. This... Ooh, shoot! Yeah, we like our mage cooldowns to be around, like, the 6-7 second range, but we don't get that. Ugh. That's a pretty real clear speed decrease in the first few clears. And she was like a very pure tempo champion too. Uh-oh. Okay. We'll explore that. We'll keep that in the back of our mind. But for now, current state of the changes, with just that Q change, mid lane Neeko is not snowballing as well. The on-hit top lane sort of stuff doesn't really care because they don't like points in their Q. But Neeko jungle, we're very scared about her speed. Okay. Shape Splitter. The proc bonus damage is going down -10, 5, unchanged, +5, +10. So with an investment into the ability, your on-hit's actually a little bit better, but at least immediately it's down a little bit. We are going to check its performance in the jungle. I'm pretty sure that Neeko's jungle mod has a % increase on this one, right? No, it is a flat. It is a flat 75. So I don't think that meaningfully changes her jungle clear at all. It's just like a small... This change is the kind where if it were on its own, we would say negligible. We're not really caring. So we're not going to factor this change in to any of our real assessment of her performance, right? Hi, Giggle. I will. I did read your message. I just haven't gotten back to it, right? Her clear speed is already insane right now. Sure, I mean, like, it is insane. It is very, very good, but I need you to realize how impactful 2 seconds is for a mage jungler, right? Like, that can be the difference between viable and not. I remember playing, this is a weird niche callback, but Lissandra Jungle and Nexus Blitz. And I always felt so bad with that cooldown. And it's like, it's just like tiny. It actually makes such a difference. And the clear speed is insane, but if it gets meaningfully slow, then I don't know. It's still okay. Minoshi, thank you so much for the Prime. Really appreciate it. I super appreciate your continued support. Jace Jungle and Nexus Blitz, my beloved. So you're curious about new with this. Ah, that's what you say. So I thought you said her clear was really fast before, so even with this nerf, it can't be that bad, right? And you know, I'd be inclined, I'd be hopeful to agree with that, but this is going to force. I'm going to need to check, and I want to play. I love Neeko Jungler, right? Neeko Jungle. So Paradox, you've been playing jungle on a second account, and Neeko's been one of the core. Yeah, no, my team's been flexing the hell out of Neeko, and I've been getting her all the time. And whenever I'm allowed to take my mage, wait, no! Where's my Zyra change? No! Why is it not in this patch? No! No! Give me my Zyra jungle back! Why are they still in PvE? It was such a simple change list for Zyra! I get delaying Xerath, but... but I might have to play solo queue, and I wanted to one-trick Zyra. Okay, it's fine. So, where are we now? We are on a... Like, we talked about this. This is irrelevant. This is relevant. Okay. Neeko can only be disguised for the first 0.5 seconds of the cast on Ultimate. She is revealed for the remaining 0.75 seconds. Big deal. Hugely power impacting. Because what I would do is, you know, no deception was necessary. I just become my allied Scion and run up, and they know full well it's me, and they still don't know when to flash. Same with the minion. I've described this before, right? Now there is a counterplay window. If this change alone is what happened... oh my god, my bitrate's dropped to 0. Oh my god, my stream has crashed. Okay, we're back. If this change alone were to happen, I'd say, like, we can survive this. Because realistically, all that's going to happen is that there's a counterplay window. I've seen some TikToks. I've seen people being like, this'll kill her. There's now a longer delay before she becomes available, and you already avoided that the whole time. And I kind of look at those videos. I'm like, did you play Neeko before? You avoided that the whole time because you could just walk out while she was inactionable. But she's still fully actionable during her ult channel now. So it's still a lot more consistent than it was before. It's just now, if the enemy has flash, they will flash. That's the change. Hugely power impacting. You should still be able to get that flash pretty consistently. So I still think Neeko's very strong, right? So altogether, right? Counterplay now exists. Which is good. Should happen. But honestly, this alone might have been enough. So mid lane Neeko is surely going to be okay, just a little slower, a little less consistent, and absolutely down in the realm of very strong champion who maybe doesn't need to be permabanned. And what would contribute to her not needing to be permabanned is if this neuters her jungle. But beyond that, it's yet again a completely busted champion just coming down into the realm of strong. And that's where we will leave her. Our big question of the day is jungle. As a Sivir main, you're so happy, you get to press your E! Yeah, I'm glad too. I'm glad they didn't nerf the damage numbers too. I'm not going to repeat myself about like why this is meaningful but not like neutering, right? We all agree with each other right now. She's good. She's just not busted. Okay. Nidalee, base movement speed, +5. This is good, right? Like, this is This is subtle power for actually getting into the enemy jungle, right? Yeah, this is kind of nice for her play pattern, I think. Kind of nice for her skirmishing. Yeah, okay. We're not going to see, like, a ton more Nidalee, but the Nidalee players will be, like, pretty happy about that. Okay. Rek'Sai is losing 3 AD, which we now can view her as a sustained damage champion. Oh my goodness. The bitrate hit 11. Okay, I apologize, guys. I don't... Nidalee Toph buffs? Based. With Nid's passive, this change could be scary. Let's explore that. Is it a percent increase? It is a percent increase. It is a percent increase. So it's actually quite a bit more than we thought. Is Nidalee struggling with her target access, though? I don't think Nidalee is struggling with her target access. Yeah, no, but that is a meaningful increase to her ability to maneuver around the map and, like, get into your face and... But, for us, down here, down in Pisslow, okay? I don't think we are necessarily skilled enough to make use of the power granted by that, because that's going to affect clear speed, like, timings, right? That's going to impact, like, little jungle versus jungle interaction timings. It's going to impact your ability to sprint to fights. That part we can use. That part we can use, right? But the real impact on Nidalee's power is, like, top level only. If you get a little closer, yeah. Mobility. All right. We're moving on until Paradox burns the kitchen down. Rek'Sai. I'm actually going to pull up my notes for Rek'Sai this time. So I was a little bit wrong about Rek'Sai on 1311. So what I said is, I looked at her changes and I thought that looks quite good. And yes, she's been given more sustained damage, and that's kind of nice, but I couldn't really imagine a world in which Rek'Sai is able to play out, like, 2 consecutive picks consistently enough to gain a lot of power. That was too restrictive. That thinking was too restrictive. In fact, the DPS that she got allowed her to, in general, fight champions she can't one-shot, which is a big deal. And the increase to her sustain created Rek'Sai top lane, which was very, very funny, right? So, you know, I was overall wrong about the champion, and she was significantly better, and I think she's probably a little less binary as an aggro champ, although she still is fundamentally that, right? So, minus 3 AD on a DPS champion then, you know, slightly impacts her burst, but we're going to be okay with it, right? Let me just double check, because with the information I have right now, we're going to be okay with it. I just need to make sure. Yep, scales with bonus AD. Scales with bonus, and so what, that's like 10, 15 damage, you know, because auto, Q, yeah, it's like 12, 15 damage, and then it adds up to a completely irrelevant amount. This change matters quite a bit for Rek'Sai top lane. Why? Because her weakness is continuous combat, where you're not giving her some space to breathe and sustain in something, and so that is just a flat 40, which itself is a new lethal burst window, right? So it's going to be far easier to exert pressure onto her. Now, I don't know if that invalidates her. I don't know if anyone even had the time to add her to their pools competitively. That I'm going to leave as a question to you guys. To just kind of explore and see if it does matter. Because, again, it's another champion we have with like 55, 54% win rate, getting some nerfs that do matter. So does Rek'Sai top survive? Maybe, because she's so broken in current state now, even though this is power impactful. Does Rek'Sai jungle survive? Oh, hell yeah. This is not significant at all for Rek'Sai jungler. Rek'Sai jungle. Who, despite being broken, still has to, like, chill a little bit on the competitive pick conditions. Unless we're bad, because we're, like, gold, platinum, diamond, like, stuff like that. She's probably still at least a little bit of a menace in the jungle. So, keep that in mind. Right. 5 movement speed doesn't impact clear speed at all. I'm not saying it's impacting her clear speed. I'm saying it's impacting her ability to find, like, 12-16s. To find, pit hops on your level 2 Gromp invades, right? On stuff like that. That's what we're looking for, which is very good. But to what degree it's good, we can't tell, like, because we're not at the skill level where we can use this suit, like, to its optimal point. 600 is 21 below that. That's such a cool spot. That's such a cool thing with your spreadsheet that you can just find that right away. I do love that spreadsheet then. I'm going to look at it later when I have time. So, that's where I am with Rek'Sai. We have a question for top, and we're pretty sure jungle hasn't changed very dramatically. It's just a solo queue win rate nerf. Rell, my god. Oh my god, this champion is consistent. She didn't really need her Q sped up, but she did need the jungle nerfs, and the jungle nerfs were like a little bit sad. I have played Rell jungle since the nerfs. I did test it out. The clear's totally fine. I was maxing Q. I went QEW. I was a little squishier than usual, but I was still more than capable of like just doing what Rell needs to do, right? So what are they doing? They're hitting the health regen growth. They're hitting the base MR. They're hitting the magic resistance growth, which I imagine is supposed to expose herself more to like enchanter trading. Sure. The bonus damage to monsters is up by 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Very crazy. The Crashdown Shield base is down by 20. That's not 20 by all ranks. What is that exactly? I think there's a typo here. I think this is supposed to be 115. I think it is 20 at all ranks. And the dismounted attack speed is being flattened to 30. Then our bonus damage to monsters on full tilt is up by 20 at all ranks. So, I mean, Rell Jungle is just buffed. I'm just trying to read the context here. A 20 damage shield is not within our lethal window changes, so it would only be the magic resistance that changes. No, there's no change in like the value of your kit. There's no change in our movement speed. We're still able to pressure the opponent into making the first move. Our interactions are still very, very favorable, right? I'm going through the interaction tree in my head like a little bit. Nothing's changed. It's just we're slightly more susceptible to death against magicals. And against everyone long term, but most of the value is still health regen growth down matters over time. That's a small laning nerf. It really is just a small early laning nerf, right? That's really all it is. You're just more susceptible to being traded back onto. Because like this early shield is really not doing that much. Yeah, but Rell into the mid game is still very. I mean, Rell's historically been a very good scaling champion. Okay, I expect Rell support to remain the strongest initiator generically. And Rell jungle is just even better, so the flex pick potential should open back up. She's probably good in solo queue, so. Yeah, I imagine, I'm not going to plug her into the calculator here right now, just given the context of most of her lanes. I'd be genuinely surprised if this majorly impacted Rell support's win rate. Or pick conditions. It might impact her win rate. It's at 55. Since with one more auto, the defenses. That's a cool, unique point that I didn't think of. Yeah, it's faster for her to stack in the early game her W. That's like plus, and that's like +2, +3. That's so funny because it's like minimum 2, right? It has to be minimum 2. That's funny. That's funny as hell. Obviously, it makes no difference once you have your full combo online, but oh no. Not all nerfs. I like. Okay, yeah. Pick Rell. Varus. They are seriously trying to nerf the impact of AP Varus. He is blowing everything up. So damage for Blightstack is now the ratio is going down to 1.5% per 100 AP from 2.5% per 100 AP. They are trying to put that damage back into the on-hit magic damage. Up 5%, right? Especially top lane. I deal 1,000 plus 60% of your max health at 1,200 range. That is a cool niche, isn't it? That's a cool niche. That's a fun niche to fight. So yeah, what? It's, where are we getting the 60 from exactly? It's like 100 on Nashor's Tooth, 120 on Deathcap, like plus. It's so trivially easy for Varus to get like insane AP values. They should be overall a nerf. It's not telling me everything though. Let's see. You guys have already like done all the math. I should imagine that you guys are just crazy optimizers, right? The W percent damage increases with Q charge. Let's go look at that interaction then. Dark says versus 2k HP targets, it's minus 20% AP ratio and 5 on the stack. Wait, the okay, hang on, something's up. This. The damage of the arrow and detonated blight stacks is increased by up to 50%. That's also something I didn't know about. That's a crazy interaction. So actually, that nerf is then compounded. It's 1.5 times as effective. I'm struggling to see where you're pulling this number from, Dark. The minus 20% AP on 2k HP targets. We're not changing the ratio based on max health. It's just percent max. Okay, hang on. So like, let's say, let's snapshot Varus, right? Let's find a moment. Varus is 100 from the Nashers, plus 120, 200, and then Deathcap is 40% increase, right? So Varus has, we're gonna round down to 300. Varus has 300 AP on like 2 items. It could be Riftmaker sooner. We're gonna pretend he's snowballing. So 300 damage, or 300 AP, plus 2.5% per 100 AP. So that's 7.5% times 3, which would be an increase to 22.5% max health, which is then increased by another, like, 22.5% plus 15. So that's 37.5% max health times 1.5. So yeah, now he's dealing 56.25% max health before the nerf in that case. Crazy. Okay. After the nerf, 4 plus 4.5% max health. Add the 5. So we're now at 9.5% max health. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Oh, hang on. No, because I missed a step. 1.5 times 3. So it's 4.5 max health times 3 for the blight stacks. 13.5 plus 5. 18.5. And then times 1.5 for the full charge. Yeah, that's more than halved. That's 27.75% max health. That is an absurd nerf to AP Varus in terms of its one-shot potential. That's like dead in the water. You can use AP to supplement yourself a little bit still, but you are not one-shotting anything. That is dead in the water. Oh my god. Yeah, 4.5. So there it is exactly. Hailfire has made the math a little more accessible because it's on text visible to you guys, right? Not just one shot, also DPS. It's not a DPS decrease. It's technically a DPS increase. I mean, multiple times per burst combo. True. But that is secondary because the entire point of playing AP Varus was just the nuke potential, and now with no nuke potential, what's the point of playing AP Varus, right? The point of playing AP Varus is that splashing a Nashor's into your on-hit, Nashor's Zhonya's, is going to just be a generically nice increase to some of your combo. Like it's hybrid Varus or bust, pretty much. That's what I expect to see. which is going to have major implications for Varus' position in the tier list, especially with Static Shiv 2. And together we will assess that. But, you know, Varus, I think Varus is always generically decent. I think Varus has been very generically decent for a while. Just because he's not the most abusive Shiv AD carry in the game does not mean that you have to draw off him entirely. But AD carry players tend to kind of cycle based on the meta anyway, so you will probably be picking less early rotation Varus. You will almost surely be picking less of it. Going to basically kill. Yeah. AP, dead. Hybrid, fine. Fine, you know, fine. That's harsh. It's too bad. That was a cool strategy, but it caught on too much. Vi, ugh. Shield scaling is... Okay, Blast Shield, it's going from 13% of max health down to 10% of max health, so she is becoming less durable when she builds durability. Is there any other scaling I need to be aware of? Nope. It's just simply that. Vi is squishier. Okay. Vi is squishier no matter what, always. Cease and desist. Plus 20 seconds. 20, 15, 10 seconds. Cease and desist is pretty much the entire reason to pick Vi. It's pretty much the only reason to pick Vi. Are we casting enough cooldown? No, we still need a good window for it. It is a pretty... It is a play-limiting ultimate, like, at least in middle lane phase to late lane phase. In this community, we have a lot of resident Vi haters, right? Mainly because we think she's overpicked. Because we think she's a good champion for the right situation. I have relaxed that stance a little bit personally because I've started to realize how good just generic beatdown is, right? That's why she's being picked so much in top level, because... even top level is not at the point where, like, we go full proper drafting. And just when we're playing like that, generic beatdown is... It feels nice. It feels awesome. It feels like you have a lot of agency. It feels like the game is easier to play out. I believe that jungle play... Like the dominant junglers have a comp building cost. So the actually picked junglers in pro play, they really don't. And so personally, I don't think it matters that Vi's play-making windows are, like, a little bit tighter, right? Because she still doesn't have as much of a comp building cost as, like, the really, really, really good junglers. So we're still going to see her. You're still going to be able to pick her. You're still going to be able to carry games in solo queue. You're still going to be able to win uncoordinated amateur games. Even though she will probably die more. But if you're picking Vi, you've probably already accepted that you're dying sometimes. So... I personally, like, probably place her around, like, B tier, C tier, like, somewhere around there, and so for my opinion, that's not really changing very much. I don't think she can ever be outright bad again, but... You're okay with the fact that... Yeah, me too. I don't think her damage is unreasonable. I think this is a very, very survivable nerf, right? Okay, Wukong. They are nerfing his clear speed. We are just kind of... The easy way out of this one is to just say that nobody below, like, Diamond, like, really needs to be heavily impacted by clear speed in terms of pick conditions. We've been saying that forever. It's been mostly true unless someone's clear speed is absurd. Much like Vi, I've also been, like, a little bit of a Wukong hater. I think he's a little overrated. We're kind of in a rel meta, though. Or we're approaching a rel meta, which will make him better. Let me just check. Let me just check the actual numbers here. I'm not going to draw any conclusions without... It's like... He loses 16 damage here. Rank 1, 22. 28. Actually, practically just 16. Practically 16. We're not maxing this. We're practically losing 16 damage. Oh no! 16 damage! Ah! Clear speed, he's dead! He can't jungle ever again! we don't mind. It's such a small optimization to my knowledge. So we're okay with that. Waiting. I really hope this... I think it's just my stream. I hope this doesn't impact my scrims. But we now have to get through the items. The items are the ones that are most likely to create a big difference, right? So, Duskblade of Drakthar. Scoring a takedown while channeling will no longer proc Duskblade's untargetability. This kills the abusive Samira interaction, so I personally believe in competitive, she's kind of back to being not very good. That said, her and now that you remember, she no longer has her abusive Duskblade, she no longer has access to her early shield bow, she's high damage but high risk, and I don't typically like champions like that, right? If they're poorly supported by systems. For 99% of people, this is irrelevant. So it kills that interaction, and that's really the only champion you have to be concerned about. Yes, she does. Essence Reaver. The base AD Spellblade damage is going up, but the bonus is going down. Let me read the context for this one. Champion power comes from both their inherent kit and the systems that players choose to opt into for that game. Ideally, the power comes from those sources remains relatively consistent. Early on, champions have a keystone and only low-level skills. Time goes on, items get completed, ultimates come online, abilities get ranked up, but while attack damage and ability power ratios rarely change much with rank, items may each have ratios of their own. If the item ratios are too high, some champions start to become button pressers for their item, looking at you, Ezreal and Rengar, instead of standing out as their own champions. The goals of this changes of Essence Reaver and Stormrazor are to limit the new attack damage ratios that champions gain over time while making sure they're still a powerful source of damage in the early game. This change should make Essence Reaver stronger for most users, but will be slightly weaker later. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, Ezreal is they've pointed out both Ezreal and Rengar. I'm now also thinking Shaco. What happens here? Right? We're gonna check on the Samira point before we dive too much into Essence Reaver. Samira can still use Duskblade, but she just will not have that interaction. The percent damage amp and the movement speed are valuable to her. That is a compelling argument. I don't have a counter argument right now, so I'm kind of happy to consider that. I will leave the optimization to you guys for the short term then. We just need to make sure that this is not more impactful than Duskblade's native amp. We just need to make sure that's true. Because Samira would very much like to have like some of those early damage components. So I think that's a really important point you brought up, Hailfire. I think I can get behind testing on that one. Sad for like Jhin. Which, the Essence Reaver change? I really hope you're not building Essence Reaver on Jhin. Oh, but Stormrazor, you're probably. Yeah. This is the second GP buff in a row. True. This is going to be a more complex math question because there's a few champions. There's a few champions that do not. I'm gonna point out Gangplank, Ezreal, right? The Essence Reaver champions that probably do have viable Trinity conditions, right? Then it becomes a math problem. Currently, Ezreal Essence Reaver versus Trinity is pretty much entirely based on whether he's allowed to auto attack, right? Where the Essence Reaver build is better for annihilating squishies and for playing Q-Slam, but the Trinity build is better for playing out slower auto attack fights, and that's been true for a while, even before the Trinity buffs, right? But there's also champions like Rengar, Shaco, stuff like that, who really, really need to snowball, and for whom this ratio eventually became very, very powerful. So this is like, there's like that like small amount of like weirdo crit assassins where I'm like, Hailfire spreadsheet could come in handy here actually, but because I don't know how to use it just yet, let's use Shaco as our example, right? Shaco has base how much AD? He has base 63, plus 3. So like let's say we're completing it around level 6, right? We have rounding up to 75 AD. So the proc is now 79.5. Let's factor in Essence Reaver itself, right? I see the chat moving. I'll get to you guys in a moment. Essence Reaver itself has 55 AD. So before it was contributing 22 damage to its own proc, right? So let's say level 6 Shaco on the old Essence Reaver, we're rounding up. We have 75 damage on the proc, plus that 22 for a total of 97 damage. Now, immediately on completion, 55 plus 0.2. Now our proc damage is like 15 higher. It's at 108.5, 109, which, you know, we've done a little bit of rounding here and there. The proc is stronger earlier, but it's not within a new lethal window or anything. But as an item, it shouldn't be... As an item, it shouldn't be itself contributing to lethal windows. Okay, so... but the scaling is worse. It's only... I think they might have missed the mark, guys. Unless the level 6 condition is too restrictive, and I'm gonna do one more test on Shaco. We're gonna try level 11. We have 90 AD now. So before it was 90 times 55 times 0.4. Oh, 90 plus 55 times 0.4 for 102 damage on the proc. Now it's 128 damage on the proc, and that's not really even factoring in the extra items. Yeah, I'd say at least on that type of champion, these Essence Reaver changes have missed the mark on like Rengar and Shaco, and like some of our crit assassins are long-term going to be weaker because I don't think like this 10, 15, 20 damage threshold like does too much in the early game for our snowballing. So on Ezreal, the raw poke build is going to be weaker, but depending on where Trinity lands, it might still be better. We're saying that you think GP never goes Trinity now. That's actually, I think we almost had this conversation last time too, where we were trying to work that out, right? Or where we thought his crit scalings were too abusive, and I didn't know for sure if I agreed, but I didn't really find a satisfying conclusion. Shaco base AD is 12 below average. Rengar is 13 below. Okay, so yeah, we would need a higher base AD champion like that. It's not that complicated. Just go to the first stack. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told my navigator on my road trip. Just because I'm kind of in the flow and I have like an idea of what I'm doing in my head, I just don't want to introduce a new tool or a new route or anything. And I will for sure be ready to use it next time. This is just a weird like personal quirk of mine where even though it's probably easy, I'm just going to hold off until the next rundown where I'm almost surely going to use it, right? Okay, so we will try to assess that, but it's an overall scaling nerf, and then like, is there like anybody else who's like gonna be weird with this? Is there anyone else who's gonna be like weird? Is it possible this is a Draven buff? He has compared to Rengar 15 more. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit more. Oh, Lord. So, that's a concern. Where's Draven's base? That seems like roughly around one above. Okay, so yeah, so Draven's going to be meaningfully stronger when this item is completed. And, oh, Lord, we did not need a Draven buff, but... but here we are. I'm going to turn on a fan. I've practiced in like 4 minutes. Okay, we gotta rush through the rest of these. How much is left? Oh, Trinity changes didn't go through. Oh, okay, Trinity changes didn't go through. Big deal. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at, everyone keep an eye out for our Naafiri in-house, by the way. We're gonna be having, like, 2 of those, probably. Static Shiv, broken as hell. What are they doing to it? The minion damage AP ratio is gone. Bye-bye. Hugely power impacting. The non-minion damage, the overall AP ratio is going down. They're trying to really, really, really cut its power on AP. Right? So, we are relying... The value of this item is almost entirely its base. Where does it stand in standard marksman itemization? That means it will be... Yeah, the AP stuff, gone. Dead. We're not happy on hybrid champs anymore. Kayle, bye-bye. Zeri, bye-bye. Varus, for more than one reason, bye-bye. LeBlanc, bye-bye. Because we are not building this for champion damage. I promise you, it is so useless for that. So, on actual marksman, it is still in a threshold where, like, Shiv plus champion ability will kill casters. And that can be relevant, right? That can be relevant. If it is more important for you that you control the map and have wave clear like that than to be optimized in PvP combat, then this can still be a useful item. But it is absolutely situational. It is absolutely niche. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. We had so much math contributed on the Discord for, like, the value on AD champions, right? We'll still one-shot casters. That is important, but it is still very, very meaningfully weaker in PvP. I agree with you that that is important, but it's no longer broken. Because there are meaningful trade-offs, and that is not very appealing in a solo queue context or in a low-level amateur context. Like, it's only important if, for me, like, I'm playing, like... It's only important for me if, like, my name is Caitlyn, or if I'm just a very supplementary part of my team comp, where my mid-priority in the mid-game as an AD carry is what is allowing my jungler and mid laner to, like, drive the game or something, right? So that's where we are. It's possible that LeBlanc and Zoe still enjoy Static Shiv with these changes. Yeah, but probably not. Probably not. Stormrazor is now... Wow. This is a different change list than what I saw before. Stormrazor has a ton of new users because the item was initially overpowered. It's actually a touch weak right now. I agree. I don't know where we landed on the last set of changes, but I don't really... What did I say to you guys? Because... Oh, that's right. I didn't really say anything meaningful on 1311, but we found it out... We found out fast that rush value is, like, piss poor, and it's just not actually worth it unless you gain excessive value from the movement speed. Or if you can't build Kraken, because Kraken is genuinely excellent right now. So it lands on 90 energized damage base proc with a 25% AD ratio, so the scaling is way, way, way worse. So its identity as a... Its identity as, like, a third item powerhouse is not as good. I will have to assess rush conditions versus Kraken, because unfortunately I've run out of time. I don't have time for the math. I don't have time for the math. So I will just leave you guys to explore, right? Remember that Kraken Slayer is very, very strong in combat. So Stormrazor has to be more appealing for a burst reason, right? Or for the movement speed or something. Not a good mage item. We're not willing to give them 3 Lich Banes, so we don't want them. And yeah, overall we're fine. So, those are the changes. Shiv meta looks pretty dead. You think LeBlanc might still like static, especially since Marksman LeBlanc is a possibility? I am struggling to agree with you because she doesn't have the kind of... I mean like, you would be back to spending W. I'm willing to hear you out for a moment on Static LeBlanc, but I think the reason, the generally accepted reason for picking it is gone. So it's more of a niche, weird play pattern thing, right? And, I mean, PvP damage is down, too. So, yeah, nothing needs to be removed from your pool this patch, unless Neeko Jungle is, like, dramatically worse. Unless Rek'Sai Top is dramatically worse, right? Well, Varus in general is going to reduce in prio, but overall, kind of a It's just a patch that takes the really, really unbalanced stuff and tones it down, and now there's more room for playing what you're actually good at, which is totally fine. I have to go. I don't even have time to conclude. I have to go. So everybody, if you have any more questions that you need to direct to me about this patch, please send them to me on Discord. Patrons, there's some stuff coming out for you guys soon. I apologize for being so silent there. I just went on a trip, right? I kind of had a breath of fresh air, and I realized, like, I'm just too anxious about, like, reaching out to people and stuff like that, so I apologize. I will be a better communicator in the future. New video coming out within the week. That's gonna be awesome. Zelda stream tomorrow, and we also have that documentary thing, which I will be in touch with. You don't need to spend W because Minion DMAT still. I refuse to invest into Minion Dematerializer on LeBlanc. I refuse to pivot my build, like my rune page, to that degree for such a niche strength. Specifically LeBlanc. No, thank you. Again, I'm hearing you out on the Shiv, but I don't have high hopes. So. Okay, no, I don't have time for questions. You guys have to ping me on Discord. Very sorry. Love yourselves, respect each other. I will see you all later. Bye-bye.